Chris, it's the great dichotomy. The beauty of Texas Tech failing to live up to a crowd that forced them into 8, 9 false start penalties. A Rice Eccles that was raucous and rowdy to the point that the clap from the quarterback could not be heard, whether it was the starter or the backup. And Tech looked silly in that facility. But then this happened. That's a Utah cheerleader begging the crowd, please come back. Please don't leave.
Yeah, it was it was a great atmosphere. It was. I mean, I can't, my perspective, it's about when I'm there and how good the team program is. But I just, when I was continued to be told or barked at about how great Rice Eccles was and all that stuff.
Rice Eccles, we can rename it now, by the way.
Yeah, Rice Eccles. I never disputed that, but my problem is that there's a lot of good ones in this league. I mean, Ames, Iowa.
This isn't number one for you. I was told this was going to be number one this weekend.
Yeah, no. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think it was up there. It's amongst the top 3 to 5. I mean. In recent memory over the last 5 to 6 years, I would tell you that Ames, Iowa, and BYU were the tops. But I was there at nighttime, okay? And that may have – so kudos to those folks for being there early in the morning because it was full. I think they sold standing room only seats. And I say standing room only seats. That's an oxymoron. They had standing room only tickets that were available, and then I think they announced a crowd of like 52,000 when capacity is closer to 50. And it was, they were loud. They caused Texas Tech problems. There's no doubt. I almost think that Texas Tech didn't have a good enough plan for how loud it was going to, and I knew that. There had been members of the coaching staff that had talked to somebody at Baylor, somebody at various places that had coached there or coached against Utah at games there, just trying to get a feel for all the different things. But they just didn't handle the noise and all that stuff. But then, shortly midway through the fourth quarter, it emptied out drastically, and the kind of the dam broke there.
You said BYU, Iowa State. I've seen night games, Farmageddon, night game at Iowa State. I thought it was one of the mystique of the stadium was what was so special to me. Not the loudest I've heard in the Big 12, but it was the most consistent. I've gotten chills.
You talking about Utah?
I'm talking about Iowa State.
Oh, Iowa State, yeah.
Yep. Night game, Farmageddon. Night game, Farmageddon. Okay. Yeah. Then BYU night game against Baylor, top 15 matchup. This is 2022. That was early in the season when they brought out the Tongan fire dancers. And then Cosmo started wielding fire. Yeah. That was one of because I had seen games across the Big 12 that were just to that point, they didn't have the entertainment value. To me, it was this mixture at BYU of the fans are loud as hell. They are completely sober, which is almost more intimidating than when they're stupid drunk somewhere in the SEC. Like, it's just weird that they're just as loud without a drop of alcohol. And then, you've got some 19-year-old playing for Cincinnati, who is looking 17 feet away from him at a mascot that's wielding fire. It just is, I'm looking at a Baylor huddle. They can't focus because there are fire dancers on the field. That is completely different to me than what I got last year at Utah BYU. It was a night game. It was loud. The fans threw trash on the field. That's an atmosphere. There's something to be said about how hostile it is to play at Utah. But for a school that walked into the conference touting their home record, touting how good they are at home, they have less Big 12 wins in their own complex than Texas Tech does now. Tech now has exponentially more than Utah has at Rice Eccles Stadium. This is a slice of humble pie. Chris LaVell last week said that Texas Tech may come into Utah and thump the Utes. He didn't say they would, but it's a possibility on both sides. This game could have gone in either direction. LaVell is right. And though you found his address and doxed the name of all of his children, it didn't change the fact that Texas Tech came away with a win in Rice Eccles Stadium. And I think, to your point, this is an atmosphere that on any given Saturday is not any better than what you'd get in Stillwater or Manhattan or even Lubbock.
Yeah, and it's good. I mean, I think the mountain part of it, just kind of like at BYU, I think it like is part of the mystique where it keeps the noise in. But for the amount of fans they have, it was, I mean, and there, it's a smart, like Utah was a smart, that's what also made it what it was. They're smart fans, like nothing at all on offense. As soon as that defense walks onto the field, you just kind of feel this rumble and it starts to get louder and louder and louder. But yeah, it emptied out quick. And you know, we weren't sure what we were going to get, which is the whole point of you and I's conversation a week and a half ago. We just didn't know. And do we still, I mean, are we sold on exactly what everybody is yet? I mean, we've got a ways to go, but I do think Utah, like, here's what I like. They care. Like, I don't know if Cincinnati is, I don't know where they're at. I don't like UCF. I don't know where they're at, but like Utah, this was a poked bear, if you will. I think they were passionate. I can see they've got some tradition. They've won they've won some conference titles in recent memory, and I thought it was a good addition to the Big 12. There were some others that I wasn't so sure about, but it's been fascinating, like this back and forth of because I mean, I've got all these people following me on Twitter from BYU that we're so glad about what Texas Tech did. First of all, I had nothing to do with anything. I didn't play it down or anything like that. But that part is good for the Big 12.
Yeah.
Their hatred, their love, their atmosphere, their care factor, all that stuff is great. I had only been part of one of these things. Now I've been part of both. And I'm here for it because I think there's some juice there. So we'll see where it goes from here. But there's a lot of tough places to play in this league. There really is. And passionate fan bases that are going to show up win or lose. And that's why I say that about Ames, Iowa, Drake, because there's been many years where haven't been very good.
Yeah.
Not reeling off 9 or 10 win seasons. And they show up, they sing Sweet Caroline, and it's intimidating. They grow that grass up tall there in Ames, and look out. I mean,
we made it over 25 minutes into this thing, and you haven't said anything worth clipping for Twitter yet. We'll end it.
Well, what do you want me to say?
We'll end it with this.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I asked you off the air if you had been to both Rice Eccles, now obviously you have, and LaVell Edwards Stadium.
Yes.
If you're to compare, and I've been open to say that they are both incredible atmospheres, and that I think that LaVell Edwards Stadium does a much better job with entertainment, and ultimately that gets the fans involved more, and it's a better atmosphere of the two. If you're to compare the two, because those two fan bases love to be compared to one another, where do you sit?
Yeah, they don't. Well, again, maybe it's because of when I was there, but BYU's was better to me. It was louder. I had somebody on the sideline joke, man, like they've had these kids, it was joking, but he's like, they've had these kids cooped up all week. They let them out, man. They just like go nuts. The student section was there 2.5 hours, just blaring Miley Cyrus and singing all kinds of different, whatever the music was. And, Sataki runs out there and he does his little dance. I mean, it was, it was intimidating, and Tech melted down there too. The crowd affected both, like the team I'm covering, in both instances. But I just, and again, maybe it's just because of when I was there and it was a night game and all that stuff. But I thought BYU's was a bit better. Yes.
Yeah, it's good, man. I think they're both great. I love that I went to Utah last year. I certainly had more beers before the game when I went and saw Utah play than I ever have going into a game at BYU. But it showcases to me, and people are on different sides of the road here. I know we're going kind of long, but people on both sides of the fence. I never thought DKR was bad. Was never a believer in DKR. I don't think Texas has a great atmosphere.
It's just corporate. It's stale and corporate and busy. Yeah, it's like the LA Forum years ago when the Lakers were really good. Yeah,
the real fans are in the last 10 rows at the top of the stadium, and it's hard to impact the game from there. They're the ones that got the cheapest tickets at $200. It's like a Cowboys game, and I love the Cowboys, and their games are stale to me. Then there was Oklahoma, and it's one of the most disappointing atmospheres. I saw a 2:30 game in a top 25 matchup against Baylor, and wasn't incredibly impressed. I have been thoroughly impressed with the addition of Utah, with the addition of BYU. I saw a 75% full UCF a couple of years ago, and that's just a loud complex. The fact that place shakes the way it does is really good. I'm not going to.
That's the one. That's one of the few that I've never experienced. Been there for basketball, but UCF and Cincinnati are two that I haven't checked off the old box yet.
Yeah, can't wax poetic about Houston. They aren't great yet, but we added some schools in the Big 12 that have good fan bases, that have passionate online fan bases, passionate in-person fan bases in those stadiums. And I think that should be the ultimate takeaway, is that it's good that we can compare UCF or Utah or Ames, Iowa, and Lubbock, Texas, and LaVell Edwards Stadium, because that gives the Big 12 a boost when opposing fan bases visit these schools. That's Chris Level of Locked On Texas Tech. This has been, and always will be, thanks for making our shows your first listen every single day. Locked On Texas Tech and Dose Grande.